you've been doing it all wrong. Every text you send too quickly. Every time you make yourself available when she barely notices you exist. Every moment you wait by your phone hoping she'll reach out first. You think you're showing interest. You think you're being a good man. But the truth is darker than that. You're teaching her that you have nothing better to do than wait for her attention. And in that moment, you become invisible. This isn't about games. This isn't about playing hard to get or pretending you don't care. This is about understanding a principle that Machiavelli wrote about 500 years ago and that the Stoics practiced 2,000 years before him. It's a principle that governs attraction, respect, and power in every relationship you'll ever have. When you master it, women don't just notice you. They chase you, and they don't stop. But first you need to face something uncomfortable, something most men spend their whole lives running from. You need to admit that the reason she isn't chasing you has nothing to do with her and everything to do with how you've positioned yourself in her mind. You've made yourself common. You've made yourself predictable. And worst of all, you've made yourself available without requiring anything in return. Let me take you inside the mind of a woman who's watching a man chase her. She gets his texts immediately. He always responds. He rearranges his schedule when she needs something. He's sweet. He's available. He's safe. And because of all that, he becomes forgettable. Not because he's a bad person, but because human beings are wired to value what feels scarce and dismiss what feels abundant. This isn't cruelty. This is biology. This is psychology. This is the game whether you choose to play it or not. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote The Prince. He said that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He understood that people respect what they cannot fully control. Now apply that to relationships, not through fear, but through mystery, through self-respect, through the quiet power of a man who does not need validation from anyone because he has built something inside himself that cannot be shaken. The Stoics called this inner sovereignty. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, wrote in his private journal that the opinion of others should mean nothing if you know who you are. He wasn't talking about arrogance. He was talking about freedom. The freedom that comes when you stop performing for someone else's approval. When you stop bending yourself into shapes, hoping she'll finally see your worth. Here's what that looks like in real life. There was a man I knew who had been dating a woman for 3 months. He liked her, maybe more than liked her. He texted her every morning. He made plans around her schedule. He told her how much he missed her when they were apart. And slowly she started pulling away. Her replies got shorter. She became busy more often. He could feel her slipping, and it terrified him. So he did what most men do. He chased harder. He sent longer texts. He asked what was wrong. He tried to fix it. And one night, sitting alone in his apartment, staring at his phone, something inside him broke. Not in a bad way, in a necessary way. He realized that he had been living in her frame. His mood depended on her replies. His day revolved around her attention. He had become a man waiting for permission to feel good about himself. And that version of him was repulsive, even to himself. So he stopped. Not out of spite, not to manipulate her, but because he genuinely needed to rebuild his self-respect. He stopped texting first. He stopped asking her to hang out. He went back to the gym. He called an old friend he'd been neglecting. He started reading again. He focused on a work project that had been sitting unfinished for months. He didn't block her. He didn't ghost her. He just stopped organizing his life around her existence. 3 days passed, then a week, and then, late one Thursday night, his phone lit up. It was her, a long text, asking where he'd been, asking if everything was okay, saying she missed him. And here's the part that surprised him the most. He didn't feel the rush of validation he expected. He didn't immediately reply, because in that week, he had started to remember what it felt like to be whole without her. He had tasted freedom again. And that feeling was more powerful than her attention ever was. That's the shift. That's what Machiavelli and the Stoics were both pointing to from different angles. When you stop needing someone, you become someone worth needing. When you stop chasing, you become worth chasing. Not because you're playing a game, but because you've reclaimed your center. You've remembered that your value doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself first. Now, let me explain what this actually means in practice. Most men give their time away like it's worthless. They cancel plans with friends to see her. They stay up late texting when they have work in the morning. They drop everything when she calls. And in doing this, they communicate a brutal message without saying a word. They communicate that their time has no value unless she's in it. A woman doesn't respect that. She can't. Because if you don't respect your own time, how can she? Start treating your time like the finite resource it is. You have goals. You have friendships. You have a body that needs training and a mind that needs rest. When she texts, respond when it fits into your life, not when it interrupts it. When she wants to see you, check your schedule first. Not to play hard to get, but because you genuinely have a life that matters to you. This isn't coldness, this is self-respect. And self-respect is the most attractive quality a man can have. In a world where everyone is desperate to fill every gap with noise, the man who can sit in silence becomes magnetic. Silence creates space. It creates mystery. It forces the other person to wonder what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're doing. You don't need to respond to every text immediately. You don't need to explain yourself constantly. You don't need to fill every pause in conversation with reassurance. Think about the most powerful people you know. They don't over-explain. They don't need to. Their presence speaks. Their actions speak. Their silence holds weight because it comes from a place of certainty, not anxiety. When she says something that would normally make you rush to comfort her or fix it or prove yourself, try this instead. Pause, breathe, let the silence sit. Then respond only if you have something worth saying. Watch how the dynamic shifts. This brings us to something deeper. Something the Stoics spent their entire lives mastering. Becoming emotionally unreactive. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events, but from our judgments about events. When she doesn't text back, that's just a fact. Your anxiety about it, your spiral into insecurity, your need to double text, that's the judgment. That's the suffering you're adding on top of reality. Practice observing your emotions without being controlled by them. She cancels plans. You notice disappointment. You acknowledge it, but you don't let it define your night. You don't let it make you question your worth. You don't send a passive-aggressive text. You just say okay and make other plans. She sees another guy. You feel jealousy. You notice it like you'd notice a cloud passing, but you don't act from it. You don't let it make you small or desperate or controlling. This is the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is what weak men do. They let their emotions hijack them. They say things they regret. They chase when they should walk away. Responding is what strong men do. They feel the emotion fully. They let it move through them, and then they choose their action from a place of clarity, not chaos. But none of this works if you don't have the foundation that everything else rests on. If your life revolves around getting or keeping a woman, you've already lost, because she can feel that emptiness in you. She can sense that you're using her to fill a void, and it repels her on an instinctual level. You need something that matters to you more than she does. A mission, a craft, a calling, something that makes you get out of bed even when she's not in it. The gym, your business, your art, your growth, whatever it is, it has to be real. It has to consume you in the best way. Because when she sees that you have a fire burning inside, you that doesn't need her to stay lit, that's when she wants to get close to it. That's when she starts chasing. I've watched this play out hundreds of times. A man meets a woman and immediately makes her the center of his universe. He stops seeing his friends as much. He skips the gym. He puts his goals on hold. He tells himself it's because he's in love, because he's prioritizing the relationship, but what he's actually doing is shrinking. He's making himself smaller to fit into her life. And the cruel irony is that the smaller he becomes, the less she wants him. Now compare that to the man who meets a woman and stays on his path. He's excited about her. He makes time for her. But his life doesn't stop. He still hits the gym at 5 in the morning. He still works on his business late into the night. He still takes that weekend trip with his boys. He still pursues the things that make him feel alive. And she doesn't feel neglected by this. She feels intrigued. She feels challenged. She wants to be part of that life, not the entirety of it. There's a story about a successful entrepreneur who started dating a woman who was used to men dropping everything for her. She was beautiful, intelligent, and knew her worth. On their third date, she texted him in the afternoon asking if he wanted to meet for dinner that night. He didn't see the text until hours later because he was in meetings. When he finally responded, he said he couldn't make it because he had a prior commitment, but suggested they meet the following week. She was shocked. Men didn't say no to her. Men didn't have prior commitments that mattered more than seeing her. But instead of being offended, she found herself thinking about him constantly. Who was he with? What was he doing that was more important than her? The next time they went out, she paid more attention. She asked more questions. She leaned in closer. And when he told her about the non-profit board meeting he had attended that night, about the work he was doing to help young entrepreneurs in underserved communities, she realized something. This man had a life that mattered. This man had purpose, and suddenly being chosen by him meant something. That's what happens when you maintain your center. That's what happens when you refuse to abandon yourself for someone else's attention. You become rare. You become valuable. Not because you're playing a game, but because you're living with intention. Now here's the part that most people won't tell you. The shadow side of all this? There's a thin line between healthy detachment and emotional manipulation, between valuing yourself and using withholding as a weapon. You need to know the difference. If you're pulling away to punish her, that's manipulation. If you're playing games to make her jealous, that's toxicity. If you're withholding affection to control her behavior, that's abuse. But if you're stepping back because you genuinely need to protect your peace, that's self-respect. If you're focusing on yourself because you've realized you were losing yourself, that's growth. If you're not chasing because you're building something bigger than a relationship, that's purpose. The difference is in your intention. Are you doing this to hurt her or to heal yourself? Be honest, because the wrong intention will poison everything. Even if the behavior looks the same on the surface, the truth is that real attraction isn't built on tricks or tactics. It's built on genuine self-possession. It's built on a man who knows his worth so deeply that he doesn't need constant confirmation of it. It's built on emotional maturity, on the ability to feel without being controlled by feelings, to want without becoming desperate, to love without losing yourself. Think about the last time you were truly fascinated by something. Maybe it was a movie that didn't give away all its secrets in the first 10 minutes. Maybe it was a book that made you work to understand its meaning. Maybe it was a person who didn't tell you their entire life story on the first date. That fascination came from mystery, from depth, from the sense that there was more to discover. Now think about the things that bored you immediately. The movie that explained everything. The person who overshared. The song that had no layers. They lost your interest because there was nothing left to explore. This is human nature. We chase what retreats. We lose interest in what chases us. This isn't a flaw. This is how we're wired. So when you make yourself completely available, when you have no mystery, when you give everything away immediately, you're working against millions of years of evolutionary psychology. You're making it impossible for her to chase you because there's nothing to chase. You're already caught. You're already possessed. And possession kills desire. But when you maintain your separateness, when you keep parts of yourself private, when you have a life and thoughts and experiences that exist independent of her, you become endlessly interesting. Not because you're hiding things, but because you're a complete person who happens to be sharing some of that completeness with her. There's a difference between secrecy and privacy. Secrecy is dishonest. Privacy is sacred. I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up tomorrow and your entire sense of worth, your entire mood, your entire day doesn't depend on whether she texts you back. Imagine going about your life, pursuing your goals, enjoying your friendships, challenging yourself, growing, learning, and she's just a beautiful addition to that life rather than the foundation of it. Imagine the freedom of that. Imagine the power of that. That's what the Stoics were teaching. That's what Machiavelli understood about human nature. That's what every man who has ever been genuinely desired by a woman has discovered. You can't make someone chase you by manipulating them, but you can become unchaseable, and in doing so, become irresistible. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one area where you've been too available, too eager, too reactive with a woman in your life. Maybe it's texting. Maybe it's always being the one to initiate plans. Maybe it's how quickly you respond to her moods. For the next 48 hours, pull back from that one thing. Not dramatically, not to make a statement. Just quietly create space. When you feel the urge to text her, pause. Put your phone down. Go do something that matters to you. When you feel the anxiety of her not reaching out, notice it. Breathe through it. Don't act from it. When she does reach out, respond on your timeline, not hers. Not to be cruel, but because you're practicing being a man who doesn't need constant validation to feel steady. Watch what happens. Not just with her, but inside yourself. Watch how the desperation starts to dissolve. Watch how your self-respect grows. Watch how she starts leaning in when you stop leaning forward. And most importantly, watch how you start to remember who you were before you made someone else the center of your world. This is what both ancient wisdom and cold strategy teach us. Power doesn't come from forcing someone to stay. It comes from being okay if they leave. Attraction doesn't come from convincing someone of your value. It comes from living in your value so completely that it becomes undeniable. And love, real love, doesn't come from chasing. It comes from two whole people choosing each other because they want to, not because they need to. You can't make a woman chase you. But you can become the kind of man who doesn't need to be chased because he's already running towards something greater. And when she sees that, when she feels that, she'll run alongside you. Not because you played a game, but because you became someone worth running with. If this hit you somewhere deep, leave a comment below and tell me one moment where you realized you were giving too much of yourself away. What made you wake up? What made you change? Your story might be exactly what another man needs to hear today. Hit subscribe if you want more truth like this. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that actually changes you. This is Stoic truth where silence becomes strength.